I'm Charisse.
And I'm Holly.
And thank you for tuning in to our Ask Mom series on divorce. We're both the victims of divorce.
Yes, we are. And how old were you when your parents got divorced?
I was 6 years old when my parents divorced.
Okay. And I was about 12 years old, 11 or 12, when my parents separated and then divorced. There is no easy way that you get through divorce without some scars. That's
true. And for me, after the divorce, my mom remarried. I'm not really sure how much time after, but it was within the year. And then my stepfather's 4 children came to live with us, so there was 7 of us all together in the house. Pretty much every weekend we'd go to my dad's, maybe not all the time.
Was it hard blending at first?
It wasn't hard blending. I enjoyed it.
I was
a tomboy, so I had 4 brothers, and there was always somebody to play with.
Because that can be a tough thing. Sometimes, the parents really dig each other, and they bring kids in, and you end up with conflict because the kids maybe don't like each other.
We were really fortunate.
There's some pluses to divorce, I thought, anyway. In my experience, all of a sudden I had time alone with my dad, which I never had. I was one of 4 kids, and I was used to sharing him. And so it was really nice to have weekends with him and time alone with him. And even if I was only sharing him with one sibling, when my brother would come with us to visit with him, it still felt like nothing compared to sharing him with 3 other people. I carried a lot of guilt about leaving my mom on the weekends, knowing she was alone, leaving on holidays to go to dad's, and she was going to be alone on Christmas. That was really tough. And I felt guilty because even though I knew I wasn't the reason why that was happening, I felt like I was leaving her.
Right.
And there is no way to get through divorce without some pain, without some regret, without some anger, without questioning, depending on why your parents got divorced, questioning some things about your future. Will I be able to be in a marriage that doesn't break up? Will I be able to find somebody who really can love me their whole life and that I can love for my whole life? And, I think anytime you go through those things, particularly if you have a very traumatic situation going on in your family, it's causing the divorce, and maybe mom is crying a lot or upset or there's a lot more stress, get some help and be open about telling your mom, I just feel sad a lot, or your dad, I feel sad a lot about this, and I really need someone I can talk to. And I don't think it can be, maybe it can be your parents, but to be able to talk to somebody else, a therapist or a counselor that can help you emotionally work with that baggage, I think would really help in your adult life.
I think too is divorce is like, as a child, you're the product of your parents' decision making, so you don't have any control over it. I think is the hardest thing. There wasn't a day until I was probably 18, 20 that I felt like I wanted my parents to be together. I know I had a friend comment one time, she was going through divorce and her parents are still married, and she went through divorce, and she said, well, you turned out fine. And I thought, yeah, I did, but there's still a lot of hurt.
I think the worst thing you can do is think, I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to make my mom upset, or I don't want to make my dad upset, or I don't want them to think that I'm not handling it well. And I think that those are the protective mechanisms we go into when we experience something traumatic, and having a divorce happen is traumatic. Even if your parents in the house are a nightmare when they're together and you're thinking, hallelujah, the house will be a little bit quieter, it's still a change in your family dynamic, and that's traumatic. And so, I think it's important that you find somebody to talk to. Like Charisse said, she could talk to her siblings. I had the same thing because I had older siblings that were like 10 and 12 years older, and so if I just wasn't handling things well, I felt like I could go stay at my sister's house, and she was married then, and I could stay there and I could say, I'm just so sad about this, and I could talk to her about it without feeling like I was hurting my mom more or hurting my dad more to have to talk about it. Having a third party that's not emotionally involved, that you can say the horrible things that you've thought about your parents or about your situation, knowing no one's going to get hurt by it. You can just say what's honest and true for you, and no one's going to say, well, that's not really what happened, or that's not really true. And so this person can hear you and hear how difficult things feel for you, and to be able to say, okay, well, here's a place where you can put that hurt, and here's another way you could look at it, or here's how you could talk to your parents about this one thing.
So the parents that might be spreading rumors or bad things about the other parent, you really shouldn't have to be listening to that, and you can just tell your parents, can you tell somebody else this, because I don't think I want to hear this, because it doesn't matter how bad your mom or your dad is, you're always going to love them because they're your mom or your dad.
My mom didn't do that regularly, but she did do it. And it was so painful and so horrible. She always made clear to me that he was my dad and it was my job to love him and his job to love me, and that she wanted me to love him. But she couldn't kind of resist saying the things that really hurt her. I think she somehow didn't really want to be responsible for the divorce in any way. So making sure I knew that he did things that were so unacceptable she had no choice somehow made her feel better, I think.
Right.
And so she would tell me so that I would know. And I wish that I could go back to the child me and be able to say to her, you know, what you're telling me makes me feel so bad inside, and I'm still a part of him. So if you're a child going through that, find your voice in some way. Again, if you can't say it in the moment, write your mom or dad a note and say, I love both of you and I'm a part of both of you, and when I hear you guys tear each other down to me, then it makes me feel like something's wrong with me, or it makes me feel so sad and I need to love both of you. Can you help me do that, you know? And I think if I got a letter from my kids that was something like that, I would just be crushed. You know, I would think, oh my gosh, I can never do that again. You don't have to become what your parents were in their marriage. And I think kids do fear maybe they can never be loved when they grow up and have someone who really loves them genuinely forever. Really take the time to think about, what do you need? What can you live with forever? And do we have a lot of conflict in our relationship? You know, if you have a lot of conflict with someone that you're thinking about marrying, you need to say no and run, you know, because everybody has some. But if you have regular conflict, that's a problem. Yeah. It's not like we're going to work through this and we'll be stronger after. If you're dating and you're having conflict like that, he's not the right one. You know, once somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Right.
Because if they don't have any problem lying to you, they're going to be a liar your whole marriage. Nothing's going to change that.
And you'll always question that. Could you imagine that?
Short of them coming to Jesus, nothing's ever going to change that. You know what I mean? And it would be horrible to be married to someone you couldn't trust. You know, are you really there? Is that really where you are? Or when are you coming home? Oh, you know, it's really 3 hours later you're coming home. Like, you just need to be able to trust the person that you're marrying. And so you need to pay attention, and I think that maybe that's one benefit of going through a divorce, is maybe you're slightly less naive because of going through it, and maybe you'll spend a little more time thinking about, is this really somebody I can be with forever?
Right. Fortunately, I never felt as a child that the divorce was my fault. And I think a lot of kids feel it was something they did wrong. They were bad. They made mommy and daddy fight. And if either of your parents are to ever insinuate that you're the reason why they got divorced, that is the farthest thing from the truth. And it's just maybe one way of them being able to put the blame on somebody else so that they don't have to take that consequence. But it is not you. Yeah, exactly right. And if you feel that way and you can't shake that feeling, you need to tell somebody that you're feeling that way, so that mom and dad can make that right. Particularly if you feel blindsided by it. Sometimes you don't know what... I was blindsided. I was too. I was totally blindsided.
My siblings weren't, because they were older, and so they paid attention and they saw stuff, right? So, you know, if you can be 6 years old and 12 years old, hearing that news, and be, you know, 44 years old and still well up at it, you know, you carry pain like that through your whole life. And it does get better. And you do heal, and you do learn how to forgive. But when parents make the decisions, even if in some ways it makes your life a little bit better, when they make the decisions to separate, it's traumatic and it's painful. But the way that you get to a place where you can put it in a healthy place, and where you can still feel a little bit sad about it, but that it doesn't taint the rest of who you are in every area of your life, is to be able to talk honestly with someone about it. Yeah, being able to communicate how you feel and have someone really hear you and listen to you and validate how you feel. It doesn't seem like it's a big thing, but it is. It's the biggest thing.
So if you have any questions about divorce or how you're feeling or anything like that, please don't hesitate to post it on YouTube or send us an email at hollycharisse@yahoo.com.
We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in today.
I'm Charisse.
I'm Holly. Bye.
Bye.